Namaskar. In earlier video, we study carbon and an important element, see their properties and the electrons of carbon. Okay. Today, see hydrocarbons. Hydrocarbons that is called as the basic organic compound. In some compounds with carbon, hydrogen is also present. Means carbon and hydrogen together react together to form the compound. That compounds are called as a basic organic compound. Okay, carbon and hydrogen compound also they call as a hydro means hydrogen and hydrocarbon compound. Okay, how these compounds carbon form their compound? See, in a carbon, the carbon electronic configuration is 2 and 4. That means in a carbon atom, first orbit having 2 electron, and in a second orbit there are 4 electron. How many? 4 electron. That means second orbit is last orbit, and means that to get a stable condition, every element should complete their last orbit. So here in the last orbit, how many electrons they require? 8. But how many presents? 4 are present. So to complete 8 electrons, it require 4. Okay. Carbon, to get their stable configurations, it try to complete its orbit like a nearest halogen, nearest inert element, and nearest inert element is neon, and its electronic configuration 2:8. So in a carbon also their electronic configuration should be become 2:8, but it's here 2:4. So to complete the 4, how many require? 4 more require. Okay, and when it get 4 electrons, then its last orbit will be completed with 8 electrons. Then its configuration becomes 2:8, which is like similar to the nearest inert element neon. Okay, so carbon requires 4 electrons. Okay, it requires how many? 4 electrons. Then its octet will complete. These 4 electrons, carbons cannot be taken from other because it's the largest numbers. Okay, and that's why carbon completed octet by sharing electrons with other element. So by sharing electrons in carbon and suppose to hydrogen, hydrogen बरोबर share करतात. Suppose in carbon and hydrogen, when share electrons are shared, then in between, then they form a bond between them. That bond is called as covalent bond. Okay. See here. In carbon, means that 4 electrons are there. Last orbit, how many? 4 electrons. So carbon shares 1 electron with hydrogen. And what is that? In hydrogen only one electron in the last orbit. So hydrogen require one electron for complete their duplet. Okay. So here this hydrogen shares one electron with carbon, and carbon also shares one electron with a hydrogen. So carbon shares with one electron with a hydrogen, and hydrogen shares one electron with the carbon. So in hydrogen, two number of electrons are completed, and carbon get one electron. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Carbon number is increased by 1. Similarly, each carbon electron share with a hydrogen. As a result, each hydrogen two number of electrons are completed, while in a carbon 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 number of carbons are completed. Okay, carbon electrons are completed. As a result, carbon valence is completed. So carbon shares how many electrons? 4 electrons. Okay, and due to that reasons, the valency of carbon is how much? 4, because it shares the 4 electrons. Okay, when it shares 4 electrons, that time in between carbon and hydrogen, the bond between that called the covalent bond. So this carbon, see, share one electron with this hydrogen, so it forms this one electron, so it forms one bond with the hydrogen. It shares this with carbon and hydrogen, so the hydrogen bond is covalent bond is formed. So when it share with this, then it the covalent bond is formed. Then when share carbon and hydrogen, they one electron, so in between there is a covalent bond is formed. As a result, the in between carbon and the hydrogen, the bond, this element that is called as a CH4. This bond can be also written by using the dot. The dot is also here. Carbon share one electron with a hydrogen. That time hydrogen also share one electron with a carbon. Okay. Similarly, carbon share one electron with a hydrogen, and hydrogen also share one electron with carbon. Okay. Carbon share one electron with hydrogen. That hydrogen also share one electron with hydrogen. Carbon. Okay. Carbon shares the fourth electron with the hydrogen. That hydrogen also shares one electron with the carbon. So this is called as a structural formula. This is called as a structural formula, and this structural formula we can write by using the two method. One is a line. This is called the line method. Line method. Okay, and this is called as a dot electron dot method. This was a electron dot method. Okay. Here we come to know that here in between carbon and hydrogen, the bond is with that kind of bond, and that bond discovered by or indicated by the line. Here we show by one line. Okay, because one more electron shows, so that bond is called as a single bond. That bond is called as a single bond. Sometimes carbon and carbon also share two electrons with each other. That time the bond is present. That is called as a double bond. Sometimes carbon atoms share three electrons with each other. That time they form the triple bond. Means in a carbon compound there are three types of covalent bond are present. But it's a single bond, which indicates single line, double bond by two lines, triple bond shows by using three lines. Okay. Okay, so in a carbon compound, because of the single bond, double bond, triple bond, the many more compounds are formed. Okay. In carbon compounds, uh, the carbon chain is formed. When between carbon and carbon, there is a single bond is present. When between the carbon and single bond, these carbon compounds are called as a saturated hydrocarbons. And when there are in between carbon and carbon there is double bond, or carbon and carbon there is a triple bond, then such type of compounds are called as unsaturated hydrocarbons. Okay, methane. So see, ethane, that is C2H6, in this compound, in between carbon and carbon, their single bond is present. Okay, that means if we say in a ethane, two carbon, say two carbons are there. Okay, so these two carbons are bound with each other by single bond, and the six hydrocarbons are from a single bond, three single bonds with a carbon. Okay, so this, in this compound only double single bond, so that is called as a saturated hydrocarbon. But when it ethine ethene in ethene, the molecular formula is a C2H4. In this compound there are also two carbon, but in these two carbon their double bond is here. In carbon single bond, but here double bond, and the four hydrogens are bonded with a single bond, with a carbon. But because this double bond, this carbon compound is a unsaturated hydrocarbon. While in a ethine, that is a C2H2, in ethine there are again two carbon atoms, but between these two carbon atoms their triple bond is present, and the one hydrogen form a single bond with the carbon, and second hydrogen form a single bond with the second carbon. Okay, so due to this double bond, triple bond, these carbon are also known as a unsaturated hydrocarbon. Okay, so these are the examples. And on the basis of the bonds, carbon compounds can be classified as a saturated hydrocarbon and unsaturated hydrocarbon. Okay, then see the solubility of carbon. Solubility of carbon. If we add coal in water, what happens? Coal cannot be dissolved in water. Cannot be dissolved in water. Okay, before that, let's see. Before that, see, this carbon and hydrogen, in between that the covalent bond is present. Okay, so these compounds, they form the compound. That compound also called as a covalent. That compounds are also called as a covalent compound. These covalent compounds, they are shows the property like they have a low melting point and the boiling point, because in between the covalent bond is present. This covalent bond is a very weak. Covalent bond is a very weak. So melting point, boiling point is very low. To break them, the low heat is required. Okay. Then second property that they are insoluble in water. Insoluble water. And the third property is they are soluble in organic solvent. Organic solvent means alcohol like substances, they are easily dissolved. And the fourth property is poor conductor. They are poor conductor of heat and electricity. Okay, those are the important property of the covalent compound. Then this shows the property like a solubility. Carbon compound shows the property of solubility. Okay, solubility means how they are soluble or not. If we take coal, mix in a water, then we see that the coal do not dissolve in water. The coal particles are remain suspended in water. Okay, means carbon compounds are insoluble in water. Means what we can say that carbon compounds are carbon is insoluble in water. Okay, then second property is that reaction of carbon with oxygen. See, when carbon react with oxygen, it form carbon dioxide. Whenever we burn any substances, we finally get the gas. That gas is nothing but carbon dioxide. Carbon dioxide is a molecular formula. Carbon dioxide. Its molecular formula is CO2. Molecular weight. Its molecular weight. Molecular weight means carbon molecular weight is 12, oxygen molecular weight is 16. So in carbon dioxide, one carbon and there are two oxygen, means 16 plus 16 into 2. So 12 plus 16 into 2 is 32. So therefore total 44. So molecular weight of carbon dioxide is 44 and its a melting point. Melting point of carbon dioxide is a minus 56.6 degree Celsius. Okay. Mainly carbon dioxide. It present carbon dioxide occur in nature. See its occurrence uh, in atmosphere or in air. In air, the carbon dioxide occurs about 0.03 percentage. Okay, from the air. In air, how much amount of carbon dioxide present in 0.03%. Carbon dioxide is also present. It is also present in a salt, in chalk, also present in a Shahabad tiles or marbles, Shahabadi furches lali, huh? And it also present by combustion process. कुठून तयार होतो? आपण काही जाळलं की त्यातून तयार होतो combustion. Okay. In laboratory, we can produce it by using, see, by this experiment we can produce. Okay, we have to take a round bottom flask uh, and tie it with a rubber cork. There, this is called a thistle funnel. Then also connected with a U-shaped tube. This U-shaped tube insert in a jar. Okay, then in this round bottom flask, first add Shahabadi marble, that means called the calcium carbonate. Add the calcium carbonate, Shahabadi marbles pieces, then tight the rubber cork, then by using thistle funnel, pour dilute hydrochloric acid. Okay, then what happens in this bottom, in this flask, this calcium carbonate and the HCl, they are reacting. So this calcium react with the chlorine to form CaCl2. Okay, then from this carbon dioxide CO3, one oxygen react with the hydrogen to form H2. So from this CO3, one H is given react with the hydrogen. So here only two oxygen are remaining. So it forms CO and oxygen how many? CO2. That is the carbon dioxide gas is produced. This gas then from this bottom flask through this U-shaped tube enter into this jar. Here the gas is collected by upward displacement of air because the carbon dioxide gas is heavier than air. So when it collected separately, it settled at the bottom. That's why by this way we have to collect. Okay, let's see the physical properties of carbon dioxide. Physical properties. When we see, when we collect the carbon dioxide by the experiment, first see the color of gas. The carbon dioxide is colorless. It has no colorless gas. Then second, no smell. Then third, do not help for do not help in burning. Okay. Then it is acidic in nature. It is acidic in nature because blue litmus paper turns red. And fifth one is that it dissolve in water or mix in a water. Those are the important properties of carbon dioxide. It also, that is physical property. It also shows chemical properties. See the chemical properties of, if we react this carbon dioxide with the sodium hydroxide and carbon, then what happens? Sodium hydroxide means NaOH plus carbon dioxide CO2. Then what happens? This carbon dioxide react with the CO2 to form Na plus, it reacts with the carbon dioxide to form Na2CO3, that is sodium carbonate is formed, as well as also it form the water. It form water. So when it reacts with sodium hydroxide, it forms sodium carbonate. When it reacts with, in this, if we continuously add a carbon dioxide, so Na2CO3 plus H2O, in this if we continuously added carbon dioxide, then this Na2CO3 react with carbon dioxide to form twice sodium bicarbonate. What is formed? It forms the sodium bicarbonate. Okay. So those are the chemical properties of the carbon dioxide. It can be used, where we use carbon dioxide is used first in a aerated drink which we drink, that is the Coca-Cola, Thumbs Up, Sprite. That drinks are aerated drinks. In this, carbon dioxide is used. Okay. Then it is also used, the melting point of carbon CO2 is minus 56.6 degrees Celsius. Okay. So by decreasing their temperature up to the minus 56.6, this carbon dioxide become a solid. This solid carbon dioxide is called as a dry ice. It is called as a dry. This dry ice is used in a storage. Where it is used? Storage to keep milk and milk product in a frozen conditions. Okay. During the transportation. It also used to give special effect in dramas. नाटक वगैरे जे स्टेजवर केलं जातात त्यामध्ये एक स्पेशल इफेक्ट देण्यासाठी याचा उपयोग केला जातो. देन कार्बन डायऑक्साईड ऑल्सो यूज इन अ फायर एक्सटिंग्विशर. It is used so that the it is it keep under pressure in this fire extinguisher, so it gives a it extinguishes the fire. Then liquefied CO2 liquid carbon dioxide is used to remove caffeine from coffee. In coffee, caffeine is a toxic substance. That should be removed by using the liquid carbon dioxide, as well as carbon dioxide is also used as a solvent in a dry cleaning. In dry cleaning, it is used. So that is the eco-friendly, that do not cause the pollutions, and plants use CO2 in respiration. So those are the important uses of carbon dioxide. Here we will stop. In the next period we will see regular fire extinguisher, then methane gas, its a chemical and physical properties, and then uses of methane, and the biogas plant. Okay, thank you so much.